Welcome to Classic Game Room, a special Classic Game Room, because today I'm coming to you from deep within the bowels of the Intergalactic Space Arcade. This is the engine room. So, those of you who have read the Lord Carnage book know that there's a giant fusion-powered margarita right over there that's defying time, space, reality, and science. It also makes great margaritas. I'm going to be answering some questions from the Classic Game Room forums over here. I've got them up on my laptop. Let me start by saying thank you to everyone who bought something out of our store over the past month. It was the last month of our store, which is now closed, and that's sad, but the good news is we cleared out almost all of our inventory, and that's great because not only does it help the business, but also I put a lot of work into this stuff. We all put a lot of work into this stuff, and to know that it's being enjoyed by somebody is a great feeling. Whether it's the beer mug, the t-shirts, the comic books, the movies. We all put a lot of time into that, and I hope you like it. There you go. Cut away to Ethel the Cyborg Ninja. This never actually went on sale, so Kickstarter backers, you are the only people who got the print edition of the book unless it finds another publisher next year. So if you're a publisher and you want this, please contact me on Twitter or Facebook. I will be working on the sequel, but I'm going to be doing it in a very different way, and I'll get more into that next year. The same with the Lord Carnage book too, which I have in my head, but we'll be doing a very different way next year. Now, before I get started on the Q&A, let's take a look at some games I have here. Superman for the Atari 2600. Working on a review of that. Alex Kidd in Shinobi World for the Master System. You know that's a good game. King of Fighters 95 for the Sega Saturn. God of War 3 Remastered. These are both good. Murokamu Mech Pursuit. Renegade Mech Pursuit. It couldn't be a more literal title. That's what you do. I just laid down the audio track for Cyanide on the Xbox. The intro to this game is incredible. And I'm working on reviews of this one. You know what that is? Oh yeah. How about this? Psycho Fox on the Master System. The Aquanauts Holiday for the PlayStation. Some kind of Japanese spaceship shooter, which is awesome, on the 360. Sega Soccer Slam for the PlayStation 2. And F1 2015. Got to get it done before the end of 2015. What I think will be a very exciting game is F1 2017, where you're driving for the EDF and you have to run into giant insects with your race car. That should be exciting. I changed the camera angle a little bit here. It's my GoPro, which is actually just mounted on the mic stand that should be holding this, but as you can see, I haven't really finished setting up the engine room yet. Now, got my laptop here, and I use this thing for a monitor. Pretty interesting. The future's crazy. Shot looks good. That Atari hat looks sweet, because it is. Alright, Dan E. Cool asks, hey Mark, I don't know if you're going to do another Q&A again, but in case you do, here's a question I've had in mind since you did the first Q&A. So anyway, here's the question. Who would win in a fight, me or you? I think it's fair to say that neither of us are really great fighters. I know I'm not. So we'll both get tag team partners. You can pick any teammate that you want, fictional or otherwise, and weapons are allowed. My teammate is Jar Binks. Standing at 6'6" and weighing 145 pounds, Jar Jar is built like a wimpy-ass twig, but he's a wimpy-ass twig with a whole lot of reach. Also, the Bombad Grand General of the Gungan Grand Army. And throws a mean Booma energy ball, plus, and I swear I didn't know this when I picked him, he's a Sith Master. No, he's not. Darth Binks. With amazing mind control and agility powers, according to this Redditor. I've seen this. No, I don't believe any of it. Some of it, some even call him the greatest character in all of Star Wars. At the very least, I think he'll do a good job of distracting you, as in me. To make things interesting, both Jean-Claude Van Damme and Robocop are busy. Damn it, you just took both of my first choices. Are busy that night, so I have to pick someone else. It can't be Robocop or Jean-Claude Van Damme. Okay, I know who I'm going to choose. That's right, I choose Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe. Because Snake Eyes is a bad motherfucker. Snake Eyes can kick Jar Binks' ass regardless of whether or not he's a Jedi, which he's not. Snake Eyes can kill an entire Cobra fortress without saying a single word and still have time to take Scarlet out for dinner. That's why I choose Snake Eyes. And that's why I'm going to win that battle. Good question. And if you're one of the guys who watches this with your 5-year-old, sorry about that. A friend of mine actually said that I taught his son the word douchebag, which I'm very pleased of, by the way. Hey Mark, have you seen the Binks Awaken? No! Quit asking me Jar Jar questions. Would you play Star Wars Battlefront if you could play as? Well, I am playing Star Wars Battlefront. Everybody says how terrible that game is. I'm having a good time with it. If it has Jar Binks. Can there be a question without Jar Binks? I think if Jar Jar was in Battlefront, it's kind of like the Mortal Kombat X statement that I made. I mean, Jar Jar should have been a character in Mortal Kombat so the Predator could have ripped off his neck. In Star Wars, it'd be good to shoot Jar Jar. Like, kind of like the Call of Duty zombie mode or whatever, just a bunch of Jar Jars running at you, which would just be a nightmare, except lighting them all on fire would be a delight, so that'd be alright. Let's see, what's going to happen to The Office? I think I already had a question on that. I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen to the Office yet. I'm hoping to keep the Intergalactic Space Arcade, the games and all that stuff where they are, so we'll see what happens next year. A lot of stuff going on. Atmosphere asks... I have like one eye reading the monitor while the other eye is staring directly into the popper stopper. So obviously this is not an ideal recording solution here. Work in progress. What, Mark Busler, in your opinion, what's the best atmospheric video game? Asks Actino. The best atmospheric video game. Well, the two that really jump out at me are actually there's like 3 of them that jump out at me if I expand my mind back into the 80s. I really got to go with BioShock, the first one, Dead Space, the first one, and Metroid, the first one. Like all 3 of those games nailed atmosphere and just did a great job with both the environment and gameplay, of course, in all 3 cases, but also just sound design and, well, as you say, atmosphere, which is correct. Those are the best 3 atmospheric games that come to my mind, like, immediately. And Burning Jar Jar. Why don't I open the Intergalactic Space Arcade Disco Bar? Well, I have a feeling that I don't know much about running bars, which is why I don't run a bar. Also, it'd probably be bad for me. Spend all my time in my own bar. That probably wouldn't work out well. That sounds like a sweet idea, though. I'm totally down with all the barcades and beercades and stuff out there. I think it's great to see arcade games coming back. And I went to one in Chicago with my friends. And we were by far the oldest people in there by like 20 years, 15 years. Needless to say, all the scores were really low. You guys need to get some higher scores. Let's see. Hey, Mark, do you watch professional wrestling? Asks Dustin 1988. I do not. I don't know anything about wrestling. Let's see. Mom and Pop's Shops asks Shark69. I often wonder if anyone pays attention to these types of shops, mom and pop shops. Does the world just like to complain and destroy, or will the end result of all gamers collectors be torn apart by hordes of undead GameStop employees? Does the great Lord Carnage have a backup plan? You know, in the end, I still think the best place to search for games is the internet. But if you're one of those lucky enough to have a cool retro gaming store near you, hopefully a mom and pop store, support it. Because even if you have to pay a couple bucks more, it's good to support a local store, like a local comic book shop or something that you like. Because trust me, it's tough to run a small business. So support the small businesses that you want to stay in business, but ultimately, in the long run, which is this is part of what part of my decision-making process and a lot of what's been going on around here. I don't know that there is much of a future for small businesses, and that's sad. But unless you're like Walmart or Amazon, the future is rough. Let's see, another groovy Who Would Win War. Asks Captain Sham. Let's see what we got here. All right, who would win? Jar Jar Binks and your crime-fighting alter ego, the Lush. The Lush from the X-Men review on Sega Genesis, which is on the internet. You can watch that. Young, fat, happy Mark swearing and drinking. Oh, Dave was potty mouth. Dave was swearing. Well, obviously the Lush would defeat Jar Jar Binks, who would already be on fire and chopped into little pieces after being defeated by Snake Eyes. Let's see. Jim Kelly asks Pandemonium. Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly was awesome. Sad to hear he died not too long ago. It's sad. I was ecstatic when you said you're a fan of Jim Kelly. He had like great screen presence in an era when like black actors were not nearly as common or well respected as they are today. Like Jim Kelly just was amazing, and just kicked ass in Enter the Dragon right alongside Bruce Lee. The man was a legend. What are some of my other favorite blaxploitation movies? When I was in college, someone told me I couldn't watch these movies because I'm white. They were also a complete asshole. Because Black Belt Jones is just an amazing movie, and I'm actually really pleased that I saw somebody on YouTube said that I turned them on to this and they loved it as much as I do. It's not just funny because it's kind of like old school 70s and it's a bit cheesy with a bunch of one-liners that are really memorable, but also this is from the same director as Enter the Dragon, Robert Klaus. Like, this is a legitimate movie. It has a Bond girl in it. So Black Belt Jones is really worth watching for a lot of reasons. It's got some of the best movie quotes ever, many of which I just simply can't say. Truck Turner's a really good one, which has my favorite Nichelle Nichols one-liner of all time, which I also can't say on air. One down, two to go. I got a bunch of these. This one's not quite as good, still kind of funny. This is, I think, early 80s. Just a good action movie. It's got Fred Williamson and Jim Brown in it. This is a good one. See, Truck Turner I mentioned. Dolomite's funny. Shaft is a lot more serious. But those are still pretty good movies. So there's a lot from the 70s. When things were just way different than they are today. And movies like Black Belt Jones pushed the envelope back then. So if you like Enter the Dragon, definitely check this one out. It's just good for so many reasons. All right, let's move on. Who would win, Jim Kelly or Jar Jar Binks? You already know the answer to that. Who would win, Jim Brown or Jar Jar? God, I'd love to see that. Jim Brown from 1982 versus Jar Jar Binks. He'd like rip him in half. All right, what happens to the Intergalactic Space Arcade? Don't know yet. We'll see what happens next year. Like I said, I'm planning to continue the show as a hobby, but a lot of things are happening that I didn't expect out there. So much support. So we'll see what happens next year. I don't know just yet. Somewhere I've got Shaolin Dolomite, which is terrible. Also, Avenging Disco Godfather with Rudy Ray Moore. That was another really good one. How much has he had? I think that did. Oh. Avenging Disco Godfather. Check out that one. That one's hysterical. Has the Q&A format returned to CGR? You know, I love doing the Q&As, to be honest. I think these are great. And I thought about the way that, I have like this dream in the future where I just give the finger to the current format out there and increase production values and increase editing and increase the length of the videos and add the Q&A at the end of each review. But we'll see what happens. Nice avatar there, iCarnage, the Vectrex. I have mine sitting over there. So you had the CGR Thursday Q&A format going for a while. And then you announced the show as being continued as a hobby. You started doing them again. Have you returned to the CGR Q&A? Well, they're really fun to do, and I think it's great to let people know what's going on. Also, I love the who would win questions. I think these are the first time I read them. First time I read them on camera. Let's see. Why don't you review yourself? That would get a pretty lousy review. B-movie-like games. Lack of new video games. I love B-movie-like games. B-movies are the best. Not just like grindhouse movies, like B-movies. B-movies. Movies that didn't have big budgets back in the day, but kicked ass. I don't even have this on Laserdisc. It's so sad. I seriously doubt that's on Laserdisc. Before the site shuts down, ask, have you ever played video games that were like B-movies in game form? A lot of them. I'm trying to think of what comes to mind offhand. You don't see as many of them these days because they're not trying to make adventure games on a tight budget. Now you need to be like God of War 3 to be an adventure game, like with that kind of background and music and action and graphics and whatnot. But back in the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 and Xbox, the original Xbox era, there were a lot more B-movie style games. One could say that Earth Defense Force and the original Earth Defense Force games were like that. They didn't have quite the budget and the production values, but were seriously kick-ass games. So yeah, I love B-movie games. I'd like to see that return, but the way things are going, it's not likely. In fact, I'm looking at Destroy All Humans over there on the shelf, which I have in my review queue. That's certainly a B-movie inspired B video game. How do you feel on the fact that there aren't many new games in this console? See if I can read. Not many new games in current console generation. Most of the games coming out are remasters or ports. Well, you know, the thing with video games these days, and I've said this before, but like those of us who grew up on games, and like the top shelf games, you know. Like back in the day, a game like Metroid was like the top shelf kind of game. But, you know, these days, it's, Fallout 4 or Grand Theft Auto 5. And how many hundreds of millions of dollars does it take to make games like that, or Destiny or something? So that's why we're just not seeing as many games, at least as many of those big games. Now, if you go onto your, App Store or the iPod or iPhone or whatever the hell they're called now, I don't even know, the iPad store, you'll find a lot of games, but they're going to be a different kind of game for a different generation, really. Flinging birds, or they're good. Well, they're good for touchscreens are good for strategy games. So I don't think games are dead; they're just changing. And unfortunately, as the production values keep going up and up and up, the number of games is going to keep going down and down and down. And that's all I got time for today. So I'm going to end with a vinyl recommendation. Went down to Jerry's in Pittsburgh, $4 or $5, picked up Simple Minds, Sparkle in the Rain. The album's a lot more rocking than the title would lead you to believe, but check this one out. Up on the Catwalks, great song. Simple Minds, best known for Don't You Forget About Me, but they have a lot of other music, so here's your vinyl recommendation for the week. See you soon.